Second from the end.
Okay.
Apparently I have to go first.
There it is, okay. There it is. We'll put it up here. We'll put it up here. Forward, everybody got it? Forward. Forward. Don't ask me. That was when we trained with somebody. Control, please. Bruce.
Did you have your dinner?
Yeah, I did.
Because we called you, but you didn't answer.
On this one?
Is it this one or?
Okay, I had it, thank you.
Heat up?
What heat up a little bit?
Do you have the keys?
Yeah.
Eating in here?
I don't think so.
Warren, help her out for a minute. I think it's probably in the Stanley.
Careful.
How was the temperature the last time?
Terry. You're all
I don't know why other people would
No, what we did was early as well. So the room was kind of then you go up, when we would go to June, you have to let me know. Because it's going to be so we have to make some air movement. Even if I leave the air conditioner, just the fan to noise. We'll get them done.
So you're an expert at this too?
Oh yeah, he's good at it.
no. It's just hobby.
A man of
I don't have any license.
incredible talent. It's great.
See what people recognize, for example.
What he said? You're online.
He hasn't done too much. No, I didn't see that.
Would you? Asia, no.
Go tell me. Because you have two laser. You have the black one and you have the other one.
No, the other one, just the black.
How they? Oh. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Gene, how you doing, buddy?
Good to see you.
How many people are watching now?
Yeah, give us a count.
Nobody.
Nobody?
Three.
How many? Three. Gary.
And it's going up.
45 to 52.
We'll get started. So I want to welcome everyone to our spring information session. So thank you for coming, and thank you to the people online for attending as well. For those that might be new or may not know me, and I don't know in this room, but maybe at home, my name is Michelle Randall, and I'm your club president. We have a lot of information to share with you tonight regarding the progress of the club. We have our agenda right here, and I want to take a few minutes and I'll introduce who's going to be doing our update. So Paul Schultz, our membership director, will be doing our membership update. Kevin Greer, our financial director, will be doing our financial mid-year update. Our swimming pool update will be done by Bruce Fleming, our facilities director. And Colin Basswell will give us a nice update on our special purpose committee. And then operational update will be done by Joe Murphy, our GM. Before we start, I'd like to take the opportunity to step back and review our 3 overarching objectives that we set out for our club earlier this year. Deliver excellent value to our members, protect and enhance our club assets, and build and enhance our club brand. As outlined earlier this year, the board and the committees and management have set priorities that align with these objectives. One of the key metrics that will help us set our priorities and measure our success is our annual satisfaction survey, with the goal of focusing on what's really important to our members, the relevant issues to our members. A summary of the results of that survey were sent out to the membership in February of this year. Based on those results, we've been working hard on a variety of areas that have focused on really 2 key priorities with us so far over the last few months, and to help us improve our overall satisfaction of the club. And one of the key ones is our food and beverage operation, which you've seen the tastings and the surveys, and Joe's going to elaborate a little bit more on that later in the presentation, as well as the communication we have with our members. We've worked hard at making sure that we have really relevant and current updates from the board and from the GM. We've had operational updates that get sent out on behalf of Joe. We have many e-blasts on what's going on with the club. So we're hoping, and we'd love feedback on that, if that's enough, if you want more, if they're relevant. We've been getting some good feedback so far. So we are so far, and you'll hear through our presentation today that we're, the board and management are very pleased at where we are so far as what we've achieved on many of the levels. Doesn't mean we're done, but we're very pleased with our progress so far. We will be concentrating on in the second half of the year, with some of the continued club priorities that we've had. We'll talk a little bit more probably about the governance committee and what we're doing there, and some of the other committees that we've got some work going on in. But we've had a couple of key priorities that we thought were most important for us to work on for this year. So tonight you'll hear updates on our financial position, our membership, where we are in our 3-year plan, SPC update, the pool, and the operations of the club. I just want to take a few minutes to introduce everybody to some of our other board members in case they're not familiar with everybody. I have Vince Cascone sitting at the front, and he's our director of our strategic planning. Everybody knows our past president there, Adrian Hartog. We have Brenda Berry, who's in charge of 2 committees, and that's our Food and Beverage Committee and our Governance Committee. And we have Craig State Gardner, who is our Activities Director. And we have Neil Rogers, who is our Vice President and Director on the SPC Special Purpose Committee. So our first update we will have will be Paul Schultz, and he'll talk to you about membership. But we would like to hold questions till the very end, and we'll have a Q&A at that point in time. Okay?
Thanks, Michelle. And thanks for your leadership in the first 6 months of our journey here. Yeah, my name's Paul Schultz, and I'm happy to be here tonight to give you a very, very good story about our current membership status. As you all know, this is a key driver of success at the Thornhill Club, and our results over the last year, I think, have been very, very positive. Can you hear me all right? I'm getting a little bit of static. Does that sound okay? Okay. So there's a number of different things that have happened that have really created a perfect storm from a membership committee point of view. And one of the things that we have seen is since last fall, we've got 21 people who've actually returned from a leave of absence or from an out-of-town membership, province, whatever the case may be. So we did have a number of people who've been away from full-time membership, so that has a very positive accretive effect to the club's finances and just overall vitality and participation. Our attrition rate in terms of losing members is down. Typically for a country club environment like ours, Joe sets 5 to 6% standard. A year ago we actually ran at 9%. And this past year we are running at 3%. So that also tells us we're doing some of the right things and moving in the right direction, I think. Valley Course and Learn to Golf membership, we have an increase of 21 members over the past year, which is fantastic. I was out between rain showers on the weekend, and I swear every hole in the Valley Course was full. It was good to see some people out there enjoying the Valley play, so that was fantastic. And we have an increase in Clubhouse Active membership. The primary driver here is the fitness facility. And I don't use it as much as I should, at least not as much as Uncle Glenn back there. I see him up there almost every day. But that's been a real positive force within the club, and we're getting a lot of positive feedback, and it's creating some of our growth. We've seen growth coming from a lot of different areas, but we've actually brought in 3 different groups. One of them had as many as 24 members in it. By and large, Club Link members, these are experienced golfers. We're looking for very, very experienced. I'm just going to pick up the other microphone. People who are looking for a bit of a different golf experience who've joined us from clubs like Emerald Hills, Windance, what's now known as the Country Club, formerly the Board of Trade. So some of these people, I've had the privilege of meeting in the last few weeks, and they're really excited about being members of the Thornhill Club. I think a lot of these people are really aligned with our club's direction. I was thinking today that 50 years ago I used to pull my father's golf bag around the club here. The old man would make a decision in terms of joining a country club like this and come out and play. Today the whole buying experience is a little different. It's a family decision. And it's not just a family decision, but it's a decision that's being made for the family to enjoy. So, the message here, and we feel it's the right one, and we think that the trajectory of the membership is supporting our vision, which is more family-oriented programming and more diversified programming set. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that tonight. All right, so maybe if I just move to the next page, I can share some of the numbers with you. So this may look similar to some of you to the slide that we actually showed last fall when we went through some of the updates. And we had a 2016, a 17 budget, and then a plan. We've got a 3-year plan built from a membership point of view and all the financial drivers. And Kevin Greer is going to take you through a full update on our 3-year plan and give you the specific actuals. But you can see here that the actual April actuals are up significantly. Category A golf memberships are up to 385. A year ago, we were at 320. Now, Joe just actually told me that if you include trial memberships, we added 2 more Category A golf members today. We're actually up to 390, which is our Category A quota. And we do have interest. We still have interest with other people. So what we're really trying to do, and I'll speak to that a little bit more in a moment, but we also have a strong Category B membership. I think it's changed in its characteristic a little bit over the last few years, but we're at a point now where we can offer out potentially Category B as an alternative to Category A for new members that come to the club that want to get kick-started and join the Thornhill Club to play golf until there's a Category A membership available. As I said before, Valley Course membership is very, very strong. The clubhouse and our attrition rate is down substantially. So that obviously has a huge impact when you look at 59 people who left the club for various and sundry reasons in 16 versus the 3% in 2017. So my last slide is just a little bit about managing our membership growth. I call this a high-class problem, but the biggest concern that we have is our respect for access to the first tee. And that's particularly important for people who've paid their entrance fees and pay their annual dues, and you want to be able to get out and play your golf game, particularly on the weekends for our Category A members. So we're really looking at the quota right now. We'd advertise as many as 400 members to bring in, but we're looking at that very closely. And the tee sheet, of course, started at 8 a.m. on the weekends, moving down to 7:37. I think we actually go down to 7:30 when we get into our full summer hours. But we're watching, the Greens Committee's on this, the Pro Shop, Todd's folks are on this. We're very concerned about it from a membership point of view. We want to make sure that everyone has full access to the first tee. Tee sheet's been very full for the first couple of weeks. We did have a change in our guest play policy to assist in that, so there'll be absolutely no guest play until after 10 or 11 in the morning, depending on your Category A or B status. And then finally, we have approved a recommendation that came from the membership committee to the board to suspend any additional Category A trial memberships. So that means there won't be any trial members taking up those valuable tee spots on the weekend as well. All right, so that's very front of mind and something we'll continue to focus on as we move forward. All right, so thank you for braving the elements tonight and coming out to join in the meeting. I'm going to turn it over to Kevin now, and he's going to take us through some of the financial output of this.
Okay, so I'm going to take you through a financial update, and this is a mid-year update, so it is for the 6 months ended March 31st. So overall, this is a good story. I'm going to talk a bit about budget. So, this. Sorry about that. So, talk a bit about budget. So as you recall, last year's results, we had an operating loss of $566,000 last year, so a fairly significant hole to dig out of, and as Paul showed a bit earlier, that we put together a 3-year plan to recover from that. So this year we were budgeting for an operating loss of $195,000. The following year would have been a break even, and then the third year would have been a modest surplus of about $100,000. So that's the context of where we're starting from relative to plan. So on a year-to-date basis, in terms of operating results, happy to report that we are ahead of plan. We have had some strong golf due revenue and strong food and beverage revenue. And at this point, we're projecting a modest overachievement on a full-year basis at the operating plan level. Now, at the bottom line, which is basically operating profit less depreciation and adding back in entrance fees and capital maintenance fees, we are actually significantly over plan on a year-to-date basis. And at this point, we are projecting a bottom line to be about $478,000 favorable to plan on a full year basis. So just to put that in context, we had actually budgeted for a deficiency of about $125,000 on a bottom line basis, and we're projecting to come in on a surplus of about $350,000 at this point. So significant overperformance on that. If we look at the balance sheet, we'll also have some good news there. Versus this time last year, we actually have $800,000 more cash in the bank than we did at this time last year. So that's good news to report. It's certainly helping our liquidity position. So based on the 6 months results and our projections and the membership numbers that Paul had shown us, at this point we are projecting to be ahead on our 3-year target. Still some risks associated with delivering these numbers. We still have to sell some more memberships, but managing both the top and bottom line, I think we should be ahead on our 3-year target. Okay.
See if I can handle all these things. I got one in one hand, the other thing in the other hand. I'm going to wander around too. I'm going to give you an update on the pool. Certainly might be for me, hopefully for everyone here, it's probably not a pool day, but the pool is filling up as we speak, apparently. So a few things I'm going to go over. I'm going to review the plan that we put together last fall, just give you an update on that, or just grounding more or less. Then what the planned experience is going to be. So I've got a few slides to show you that. Some notable challenges to date, because it's a construction project. There are always challenges. We're overcoming them, but there are some. I want you to share in those. The current status of the pool, if you haven't peeked over the fence, we've got a few pictures there. And then some FAQs. I get asked all the time various things, and I thought this is a good forum to share the answers rather than try and answer to everybody one at a time. So we'll go through that. So this was the plan. The colors have changed dramatically. Holy smokes. Okay, so this was the plan back in the fall. Which one's the button? Okay, there we go. Okay, so there's the C-shaped pool. We're planning to put in a shallow area, a lane, swim lane, and then a deeper area. So the stuff in black is actually the stuff we're planning to put in. That was part of the whole plan. This is the whole space, right? So we said, okay, we've got this whole space. What can we put in? And what we don't want to do is build this thing and say, geez, we'd like to put in a hot tub at some point. Where do we put it? And then you kind of plop it in there. So the whole plan was laid out with those future elements. So the stuff that's in white is not actually going in, but it was part of the future kind of grand plan, which is a hot tub to sit in this space here, and a splash zone for tots over here. We're still looking at something for that space, but that's the plan for this southern portion. South of the main pool is the mechanical room. The plan was to repurpose the tennis hut for those tennis players or people who are familiar with that space. There's a little tennis hut over there. The intention was to use that and displace Dale, who's here somewhere. So there it is. It's gone. Well, no, it's still there. You just can't use it. So that was the purpose of that. And then to put in kind of an expanded intensity of a cabana, so more than just a change area, but to be a cantina, a change area, a family change area, an office for Dale and for the aquatics person, and then a bistro area in front of that. So that was our design. This way. Wrong one? Okay, so bird's eye view. This is the bird's eye view we showed last fall, except that I've updated with the current cabana design because we've had to go. I'm going to walk through the cabana design briefly, but there's been a whole story with the cabana design. But you can see looking from south to north end, tennis courts over here, park over here, the tennis hut, future mechanical room over here. Cool. So what's the experience coming in here? While you're walking in from the club, you're going to walk along here through the path. Wait, one. Walk along through here, go into the change area, depending on if you're a man or a woman. Walk through, come in, so I'll show you that. So here's inside. Here's everybody enjoying that whole space inside. Very exciting, isn't it? So there's a north end. Here's the serving area. People are up there at the bar. People are enjoying their drinks, and a few people in the pool. Folks ignoring them, the parents, I guess. So that's the experience. So we've had some challenges getting there, but it's moving along. You can see we're making a mess out there, so obviously we're making some progress. Just to hit a few highlights. One is the cabana itself. The cabana, the club is in a heritage zone in the city of Vaughan. And it goes, I'm not sure exactly, but it goes from Center Street up past where we are. And so anything that gets built here, renovations, has to go through a heritage approval process. And in fact, if you build a new building, even though it's a little rinky-dink building like this one, this cabana, it actually has to go through a bigger process than the renovation we had to do, because it's a standalone building. So it was quite a lengthy process. And so to keep the project going, we split out the cabana construction from the pool permit, so that we can get the permit approval done. So that process is actually completed now, but it was a long, laborious process, and it took a lot of refinement of drawings. We had to actually have the drawings 80% complete to even submit for this. And now the building permit has been submitted. The pool permit. Pool permit is in our hands, that's why we're digging. It didn't go on without a bit of a few hiccups as well. Just the general process of going through this permit was staggering, but the last hiccup, which took us about 3 weeks or a month to solve, and not without a fight, was the fact that with our tennis hut, right? Tennis hut, little tennis hut, well, it's too close to the property line and was built without a permit, apparently, back in the 70s. So the city goes, well, you can't use that. And so we were figuring out what to do. Ultimately, they required us to submit some as-built drawings. We drew the drawings of the thing, and they said, well, okay, in order to deal with the fact that you don't have a permit, you're repurposing, you have to go through code modification. So that commitment was made, and then we got our permit. Third thing I wanted to mention, because it does affect this club significantly, I'd say it's a bad news, sort of good news story. Bad news. We had to put in the utilities from the clubhouse, various utilities, right? So there's electrical up there. The pool's up here by the D, but this is the clubhouse here in the curling rink, and you'll see a big hole when you walk out the main door, where there's a catch basin. I'm going to explain a little bit about that catch basin. When we did the planning for the sanitary line, from the pool area, for both the pool and for the cabana, we ran a line down to where that catch basin is. When we ran a closed-circuit TV line through there, we determined that there was some disconnection between the existing line and a new line, which had to be realigned, hence the catch basin. Secondly, when we ran the closed-circuit line TV or camera through south here through the blue line, that's our existing sanitary line, more or less, found a lot of semi-collapsed piping. This is a fairly old chunk of pipe, actually chunks of pipe. It's actually a 4-inch transite pipe from the 60s, early 60s, switching to 6-inch clay, which is in various stages of disrepair, to cast iron, back to clay, and then PVC at the far end. So we need to fix that. So the reason that's still open is actually we're looking at a process to fix that. So I could get into directional boring. In fact, let me explain directional boring just briefly. So what you notice that we did a line from this catch basin, you go, how come there isn't a trench from there, or at least some people would ask that question. How come there isn't a trench from there over to the pool? Well, it's because we did directional boring, which means you basically drill underground and put the pipe in underground. So that's the process we're looking to do. from that catch basin. That's why the catch basin is open, because we're determining whether we can directionally bore underneath the curling ring, south of the curling ring. Okay, so now to the construction status. So this is a picture last week, actually. There's more progress, and the pool is half filled now. But last week you could see you can see that the back side of the forms are installed. These are all installed at this point. The base material's gone in. So it gives you a perspective on the size of the pool and the shape of the pool and orientation from looking from the north side looking south. A few other snaps giving you a flavor of where we're at. The forming is complete, so all those panels are now up. Granular base is installed. The service piping, there's a significant amount of piping, you can see that, right? This is just a kind of some elements of it, stacked on stacked. There's a lot of it. And then rebars in progress would be a lot. We've had some kind of crummy weather and it's really slowed this down. But to give you a flavor of it, we're looking to pour this week. Weather permitting, God permitting, all those things. The challenge, well, and it's actually not a pour, it's a shot creating process for let me explain shot creating. So it's actually shot on, as opposed to being conventional concrete pour, it comes out of a nozzle. So the concrete truck's back up to a pump, and there's 2 or 3 guys there with nozzles, and they're spraying the concrete mix onto the walls and then traveling smooth. So there's a certain type of mix, and it's, anyway, it's not on the FAQ, so you have to come and ask me that. Second thing, so once that's done, then the concrete has to cure to a certain point before waterproofing can happen. So waterproofing starts in mid to late May. Flood testing, once that's complete, then you flood test the whole thing, make sure it doesn't leak. At the same time, once that's done, you empty the pool, start the tiling process. And the pool is not completely tiled. There's a rim of tile all the way around the splash zone. There's a coping stone around the top of it. But the shallow area, the area in the south part of the sea, is all going to be tiled. So that tiling process happens in June. We'll start the landscaping work, the hard landscaping around that, the deck work, and commence the bed in June. And the intention is to open the pool in July and commence in the fall. So that's more or less where we're at. So on to FAQs. So I can read these. In fact, I will read some of these things, and well, you can probably read ahead. So, is this going to be a saltwater pool? That's an easy one, yes. So thanks for asking. The second one is the club planning to serve beverages in this space. The intention is yes. There's a liquor license application being worked on as we speak. Over the last few weeks, it's been worked on. Service is anticipated to be more or less similar to the halfway house, but it's a bit of a bigger area, serving more people, so there's an expanded service there. We have a small, anticipation of a small keg fridge, so for example, more beer there. Hence the washrooms. The second, is there a food service anticipated? Yes, we do have a kitchen space anticipated for that area. The idea is to repurpose at least some of the equipment that is not being used now in the clubhouse and add some more stuff. But the constraint of food in a pool area is really governed by the regulating authority, so that's got to be refined, not in terms of where we have to rope off spaces and allow people to eat. Not so much the drinking, that's more the eating apparently. What is the pool capacity? Well, the official pool capacity as determined by our pool designers and included on our permit is 66 people. I doubt that we'll ever get to 66, but then I say that and then people will try and get to 66, right? But that's the maximum number. Are there going to be any lifeguards in the pool area? Well, this is an interesting yes and no question, or answer rather. So the pool is sized and arranged so that will be signed as well, to allow us to have an unsupervised pool. The idea is, if we had a certain size and without that signage, we would be obliged to have a lifeguard there at all times. Even if it was October or November and we said, well, let's have a poolside function or at night, you want to have a nice ambient condition, the tennis players want to sit there and have a drink and look over the pool, wait for their game, well, you'd have to have a lifeguard there. So that's why we have created this or allowed for or planned for this environment of an unsupervised pool. However, obviously when it's a family-oriented club, the intention is to have lifeguards there at the appropriate times, busy times, weekends, during the summer. That will be fine. That will obviously be finalized when the programming is finalized on the pool. Will there be access to the tennis courts from the pool area? Well, there is actually a plan for a tennis court gate at the north end under that bistro area, north end of the bistro area. It's a question been asked more than I expected to be asked. Why doesn't the club build the hot tub spa with the pool construction to reduce overall costs and reduce later construction disruption? I added some of those things because not everybody asks the question the same way. Well, while the hot tub, as I said earlier, while the hot tub was part of the master plan, it wasn't intended to be part of the initial construction. However, we did get pricing, and sure enough, it's fairly expensive development. What we chose to do is rough in that space. So we're actually putting in all that piping. Some of that piping you saw is actually piping that's going to a future connection point adjacent where that hot tub will be. So it's from the mechanical room to the hot tub space, so that if we do, or future boards, long after I'm gone, decide to put in that hot tub, there won't be, we won't be having to rip up the plaza. We'll just go in locally, do some surgical excavation, and then put it in the hot tub. So the last three, you can read them all, they're very similar answers as it turns out. What are the planned hours of operation? What are the programs? What programs are planned for the pool, and can I bring guests to the pool? Well, there's a host of operational questions that quite frankly haven't been fully worked out yet, so the programming will be done over the next few months. And I guess that's it for my part of the presentation, and at the end I'll take some questions. I'm Sean Cage. Paul, I'm just going to go on.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm Paul Lastable. I'm the chair of the Special Purpose Committee. It's always my misfortune to have to follow the Bruce Fleming show at these meetings. Based on Bruce's informative and enjoyable presentation, I'll do my best to keep you awake. We only have a limited amount of information to impart to you this evening, and that's because we continue to review options to capitalize on the best use of the club's lands, that is to say its non-golf course lands. We've commissioned studies to help us understand what parts of the lands can be used for other purposes, so that we can get our arms around the value of certain aspects of our property that may help us down the road for future opportunities. So we have commissioned, as I mentioned, some important studies that have helped us do that. And so we are reviewing those, and with a view to having a very comprehensive understanding of the assets of this club in terms of its lands and the value of those assets. We continue to examine some costs associated with maintaining the clubhouse infrastructure to improve the aesthetics of the buildings and the functionality and the operating efficiencies that could be achieved. We need to understand what changes or improvements we could make over the coming, and this, by the way, we're talking about a 10-year, roughly 10-year horizon. We need to understand what changes and improvements we could make to improve the member experience, and what costs are associated with those, and then ultimately how those costs can be financed if they are chosen to be pursued. In our last communication, written communication to you, we indicated that the city of Vaughan had gone forward with an RFP to seek a new service provider to maintain and operate the Uplands Golf Course facility and the other related facilities there. To date, there has, by the way, I should add that the club did not participate in any response related to that. But to date, there has been silence from the city in terms of how they have ended up in the pursuit of that RFP. And we've been watching this process very closely because we are an interested neighbour in what happens at the Uplands, and it has an indirect and sometimes direct impact on membership opportunities for our club. So we continue to watch that, and we will evaluate the outcome of their RFP process. As part of our activities, we have accumulated membership data to understand past trends with respect to movement and aging of our membership and the implications that has for our club. We have been looking at what's been happening in the industry. There are some well-known changes that have taken place. Woodbridge Golf Club, the Board of Trade Golf Club in Woodbridge has been sold. You may well know that the Toronto Ladies Club has recently offered up certain lands on its property for sale. And other clubs have, Mandarin, I think, Joe, is one that has also made some closing down or being sold or both. They provide opportunities for us in many respects. First of all, to help us understand what we have and the value of it, but also provide us membership opportunities that have been commented on this evening. Lastly, I just want to explain to you that the purpose of our committee is to make a recommendation to the Board of Directors on how to, what capital requirements the club may face in the coming 10 years, how those capital requirements could be funded. And I want to be sure that you understand that we will not proceed with any recommendation from our committee without first having detailed consultation with members of the club. So as we formulate our thoughts and we get our arms around all these aspects of the costs and opportunities that I mentioned, we will interact with the membership, get your input into some thoughts that we will develop, and ultimately, after that input, formulate a formal recommendation that hopefully the board will look upon favorably when that time comes. But we're talking about months down the road. We expect to be able to have some form of consultation beginning later on in the coming months, and I look forward to that. And that's my report.
Good evening, everybody. Now I'm going to bring it down a notch. You've listened to the 10-year plan. You've listened to the swimming hole, the swimming pool that's coming. It is a hole right now. It's just a lot of water. We're going to put a rope on one of the branches so you can, those who want to practice. We're going to bring it down into the club operations. It's an area, as you know, we're all very near and dear to and are exposed to it every day. But before I start, I'd like to introduce, because I see a number of new faces in the crowd, I'd like to introduce our non-food and beverage staff for a moment. If you could just stand up, everybody here, and just be recognized. Laura, including you. This is... Thank you all. And I didn't introduce you purposely because I think everybody knows who you are. Perhaps Vanessa might be the newest one on that team. The reason I'm holding off on the food and beverage staff is because you probably don't know them yet, because there has been some changes. We're going to talk about that. But before we do, just to reiterate what our president has referred to, from the member survey, not only does it guideline the future for planning purposes, but certainly from a management's perspective, it certainly provides guidelines for our operational priorities as we move forward. So first of all, the golf course, as you spoke about, and this is some of the feedback, we again relayed some of this in a summary, but it was ranked very highly. And I can see that Greg and his staff have been very busy this year. I unfortunately haven't been out there yet, Greg. And I understand the course is in magnificent shape, so kudos to you and your staff, and I know you've done it. Pro shop services were also identified and ranked highly, a couple of areas for improvement. And again, Todd has gone over this, some of the bag shop services, but it's an area he's focusing on as well in terms of training and hiring of staff. Practice facilities, the members noted as an area that require improvement. Now, we all know it's a little bit beyond our control as we currently are planned in terms of the long practice facilities and the short game. But it's an area we're aware of. We'll be talking about it in our planning efforts going forward. The clubhouse scenario. This is a place where members cited us to have more priorities, particularly on the decor and the aesthetics of the building. We've tried to make minor upgrades in painting and wallpaper. You'll see nobody's really noticed that we stained the STL. We're also proud of that new stain, and nobody said, do you know this? Do you know this? Nobody noticed. So, okay. Well, but we tried. But we did get rid of the green leather that was on that bar. Do you remember the green leather? All of our parents had it in their basement for the bar. We got rid of it. So it's nicely stained with the wood there. So, but we're looking at installing new signage. Now, much what Bruce was referring to earlier about some of the challenges running into with the pool, believe it or not, signage is an issue for us. Within this little community of Thornhill, everything needs to run through the Heritage Committee. And I understand there's now a sign bylaw. So we're just keep running into roadblocks. But we want to make it more modern and contemporary to reflect our club. But Bruce didn't mention it, and I thought you would, Bruce. I was waiting for this. The retaining wall coming in the front entrance will be fixed. You know the one that's falling over that you almost run into sometimes? So that is going to happen. Now, food and beverage. This is an area I'm going to spend a few minutes on. This is the area identified members as an area we need to improve our consistency, and both in terms of our food and our service. But we started off, as you know, in the last few months, we did these surveys, and thank you for participating. We actually had over 1,000 people, not some of the same people, but 1,000 surveys returned to us for, I think there were 6 surveys in total. 5 surveys. 53% men, 47% female, so it's pretty even. The demographics were pretty good right across the board. And then when we went into the tastings, some of you I see around the room were fortunate enough to be part of that. There were 1,250 sample plates served to over 150 people doing the tasting. So 1,250 little morsels of food were given to you. So these tasting items were designed all based on the survey results. Some of them, the chef scratched his head a couple of times and wondered why are we even cooking these things? Because these were the items identified through the surveys. As we went through the surveys and we got the results, we have some preliminary results. There were clear winners and clear losers, as you can appreciate. But the menus are influenced and tailored based on these results. We want to continue to you'll see like a simplified menu coming out shortly, but we also want planning feedback programs so we can see how we're doing as we go throughout the season. Service consistency, especially speed of service, is noted as an issue in the survey as well. And in addition to some very good service, we've hired a third-party training, which we held yesterday, and we have a series of training sessions coming forward to help our servers engage more with our members. So let's just talk about a few of the key takeaways here. This was the 4 sort of key areas that we took from the food and tasting survey. That the members said that we would like standard menu items that are critical, serve simple conventional items, strive to standardize preparation flavors as well, and encourage communication from our members. So let's start with the first one, the standard menus. What does that mean? It means that certain items scored high on the survey, and a variety of items that members have selected and tasted will be on our menus. Members' favorite items. There'll be some standard, we're not going to deviate too far away. Members have said, look, we want simple things done well. Healthy options will also be included, because we did get a number of those comments. And of course, some of the standard items will be seasonal in nature. The simple conventional items, in working with Chef Tim, we'll be talking about uncomplicated recipe mixtures. I'm not sure what that means. Everything seems complicated when I cook, Chef. Simple flavors with homemade fresh ingredients. Daily specials will be where we really get some of the chefs in the room and their creative juices flowing with with things like a sandwich special, a fish special, and an entree special. Pizzas and barbecues, though considered special menus, will be standard all summer long. In fact, I can smell it coming through here now, Chef. And the communication we speak of is that gluten-free allergy. There's more and more of those dairies, peanut allergies, and so on. No, we want to create new menus. Some of our members come in and see the chef in advance. We actually create menus for them a day or two in advance. So we will do all that. So when you see the menus come out, the chef will be happy to explain that, and we're going to introduce our new team in a moment. But just again, as I said in a recent update, we got to manage the growth and the change. You heard that coming from Paul, that we've got a lot of new members. In fact, including trial members, we have 54 more net on the long course than we did a year ago. 55 more people, more members in the club. 20 more Valley Course members. Judy would be happy with that. 23 more Clubhouse active members. There's almost 100 new net people in this club than there was a year ago. So it's been rapid growth. It's been growth that perhaps we didn't quite anticipate. We thought it would be a bit slower, but people are joining. People are appreciating what Thornhill has to offer, including its course, its members, and all the facilities. The fitness, by the way, the fitness activity has grown from about 175 regular users to 300 as of recently. So and then most of those are golfers, so people are coming around and using these facilities. Personal training revenues have almost doubled in the last year. Tennis is showing strong growth. We got a lot of new golfing members wanting to also play tennis. Not sure we're going to have time, but maybe there's Dale, there's a 9 and 4 courts or something. Okay. And curling membership is very active. But again, managing this growth is going to be critical to our existing members as well as our new members. You heard Paul talk about the access to the tee. We've got to treasure that. That's important to the people who join this club and have those expectations to get reasonable access to the first tee. The board has already taken some steps, as you know, with guest play. We will monitor this closely. We got the opening, as Paul said, the opening of the swimming pool, or Bruce said, which is coming up very soon. We're hopefully in the July timeframe. The rain is delaying that somewhat. The family lounge is long overdue. We talked about repurposing the Heather Lounge into a family lounge. I mean, we get that all the time. Vanessa gets that. Okay, great. You pose as a family club, but where do the families go? So that we think that's going to be a great spot for families. So changes in food and beverage management. We talked about that. I'd like to introduce the team. By the way, I'm getting a bit of a complex in some of the lives. Thank Pat, you're never leaving, okay? So, I'm not that mean, am I, Pat? Okay, so I'd like to introduce the staff. So Pat, come on forward. And we have Guy. Where's Guy? Is he not here today? Chef Tim, come on over here. Come on over here with Pat. There's Chef Tim Iolis. And we do have a new, we also have a new sous chef, Abhishek Sharma. Some of them, he's not here, but he's very qualified. Now, complementing the new team, and Guy, of course, is just unfortunate, was working since 6 a.m. this morning. We are going to bring up, we have Jennifer Warner. Jennifer's our new catering manager. Please welcome Jennifer. Of course, Ken Fleming, who many of you know as one of our great staff, is also taking over as Ken is taking over the dining services manager role. And we also have a new duty manager with us, Jason Whitaker. Please stand up. One of our join the team. We'll call them newbies, but they're not new in terms of experience. Both Jennifer and Ken bring a lot of experience, and I've already mentioned their experience recently, and we really welcome them to the team. But they're going to be guided by our more experienced Thornhill staff, shall we say? Right, Pat and Tim? Good. So just while they're standing there, some people have asked me, well, what does the catering manager do? So let me see, that's Jennifer's role. Jennifer, raise your hand so people don't forget who you are. Well, folks, primarily on golf, curling, tennis, bridge, and all other social events that we have in this club. All the conveners, please see Jennifer. Please don't see me, because Jennifer will just, she'll do all the work anyway. So that's who Jennifer should go to. Also for your own personal weddings, showers, all that. That's what Jennifer's going to run. Now, in terms of dining services manager, which is Ken, his role focuses primarily on the member dining outlets, which is the Sunflake Grill, the Stanley Thompson Lounge, the Outdoor Patio, the Briar Lounge, the Heather Lounge, the HDR in this area. He'll work with Jennifer, and eventually the Pool Cabana. So that's really I wanted to share with you, that's the general split of the duties. So these are the people that are formulating the new team, and these are the people that are going to promise you that things will be elevated. So again, welcome guys, and great. You're done. Yes, that's right. So conclusion. This is just where we conclude this evening. I thought, oh, perfect. We brought it in under an hour. So we'll continue to focus on revenues, as Kevin spoke to. The revenues drive. I stood here last year. We are in the dues business. We're showing that the dues drives the revenues, and we're in the dues and annuities. A new member comes into this club, we want them here for 15 to 20 years minimum. And you know the sorts of revenues that you can bring in over the time, over that length of time rather. So that's happening. But cost management is equally as important, and we are doing everything we can. I can tell you the staff is very stretched, working long hours to make this work. They really are. And you should be proud of the team that is here tonight and as well in the food and beverage people that we just introduced. They're working very, very hard. And we'll continue to focus on improved levels of service. And the membership satisfaction survey will continue to be our #1 key metric. That's how we'll measure our success. Looking forward to a great year ahead. Questions?
So does anybody have any questions? There's mics here, yeah.
Not trying to spend Thornhill money, so I'll just put that out there to begin with. With regard to the RFP for Uplands, was it an RFP just for operational management, or are they looking for something else? It's kind of vague.
Can you hear me? Okay, sorry. It was an RFP for operational management of the golf course. They have a ski lift, they have a ski operation there, and they also have trails, walking trails and things of that nature. So the RFP was directed at that. There is currently an operator who's been operating on their behalf for the past, I think, 8 to 10 years, and so they were looking to alternatives to that operator. That was the nature of the RFP.
For those of you online, please feel free to send a question. You can email at jmurphy@thornhillgcc.com. Thanks.
Bruce, you did a great job on pool presentation. Just a question, we're new members, we joined in December. We're thrilled about how things are going and management and the board's focus on member value and satisfaction to the members. With this new pool experience, which was a major feature for us in joining, because we wanted to put a pool in our home, and we figured better that we come here and all the maintenance and everything is done here for us. But we are concerned where people can join and not join the golf club, join just for golf. And if we have a really warm summer and they want to bring their families here, how do we limit the access to the pool where it's not uncomfortable for, you know, like you can have a stretch of hot weather and everyone brings their grandkids and their kids and, you know, they want to eat and we don't have a separate cabana right now. That is a bit of concern for us. Because this is an area that Thornhill hasn't had any experience in. So I'm just wondering what the thoughts are you might have on that.
Thanks, Russ. Thanks, Russ. As Bruce alluded to in his presentation, some of the operational challenges or how we're going to even structure our guests and how many guests, I mean, that'll all be dictated, one, by how many are allowed in that area. You know, do we apply guest fees? That has to be considered as well. So I think it's a very good point, and one that we have to be very considerate of, just like we would on our golf course. We want people just flooding the tee. We certainly want to make sure our members have an enjoyable experience.
No reference was made to club debt. I'm just wondering, what is that? How much is our club debt? And what is being done to discharge that? Thank you.
All right, thank you. The club debt currently at the moment is we've now locked in about $4.3 million on a 20-year term loan. The interest rate we got on that was about just under 4%. And I believe we started making principal payments in April. So the first payment was made in April. And once we finish the pool project, the loan will be $5 million.
How is it paid off? Paid off.
So the repayment plan on the loan, again, it is a 20-year amortization. You know, that could be accelerated depending on you know, the health of the club. But the funding mechanism is really the maintenance fees that are going directly to repay that loan, and then any excess cash generated from operations. $50 a month?
That's the $50 a month, that was that.
Do we have any other questions? Any questions for to you, Joe?
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming, and we appreciate it. Looking forward to a non-wet fall season.
How many did you have, Terry?
Thank you.
How many did you have?
54.
54?
Yeah, 55. 55.
Hey, I told you, dude. You knew, and I knew. 5 months ago, you had a couple of